Hello, welcome to the Cozy Corner. Today we're playing Sonic CD. This is the PC port of the game, so obviously the menus and stuff are not going to match that of the Sega CD version. I believe that port came out in 2011, and it had a couple new features. For instance, you're able to choose between the US and the Japanese soundtrack. For this playthrough, as Sonic, we're going to be using the Japanese soundtrack. And this will be a playthrough that we get the good future on all the levels. So we're going to be going back into the past and destroying the robot generators. Alright, now with a clean slate, let's get started. And for anyone who hasn't played this game, it has a pretty cool opening sequence. Pretty nicely animated, and I think Toei did the animation? Japanese version has such a funky soundtrack. I love it. Well, that was nice. And now for our first level, Palmtree Panic. So, Sonic CD differs from the games on the Genesis in a couple of different ways. On, first look, it seems to be the same style, but there are quite a few differences. You just saw one of them right there. In Sonic CD, Sonic has a special move called a peel out. And basically you do it the opposite of the spin dash. You hold up and press your jump button over and over again. And this allows Sonic to go much faster than he can with the spin dash, with the downside being he's not, he can't defend himself by being in a ball. Here's another difference. You hit these signs, and they give you either say future or past, and if you can maintain maximum speed, or maybe high speed at least, for a certain amount of time, which is longer than you might expect, you can travel to a different version of the same level. And these versions all have differences between them. Now, the main goal in this game, if you're wanting to get... There's two endings. If you want to get the good ending, what you want to do is go back into the past and defeat the machine that's generating the robots in the present and eventually in the future. Now, there are two ways of really accomplishing this. One is to go into the past, like I said, and destroy the generator. And the other is to collect 7 time stones, which serve sort of like Chaos Emeralds in this game, by getting 50 rings at the end of the level and then completing a special stage. The special stage is really fun, but it's also much harder than some of the other special stages. And it's just a more surefire way of doing it is to go and destroy the robot generators themselves. Especially if your goal is to get a good future on every stage, because getting the time stones gives you a good future on every stage after the 7th time stone, but not before. So if you want all good futures in all the levels, the best way is to do the robot generator method while attempting to get the time stones in. So one big difference is there's a lot more backtracking in Sonic CD, more exploration than the Genesis games, which are very much going forward, trying to get to the end very fast. There is a lot of exploration, especially in like Sonic 3, but Sonic CD does it a whole lot more than the other ones. If you just do a straight run through the level, as I'm going to do in my second playthrough of Tails, you'll notice the times are very, very short. And originally Tails is not in Sonic City, but in this port version you can unlock him by beating the game once. And the Japanese soundtrack is infinitely superior to the American one, but on the Tails playthrough I switched to the American one, so you can get a sample of each of them and decide on your own. But I don't think there's a lot of people that would argue that the Japanese soundtrack isn't better. There's a lot more variety. And the funky boss theme is the best. Here's the generator. As you can see, it wipes out all the enemies in the stage. Pretty interesting. Because now there's nothing to deal with but level hazards. But as that's at the end of the level, we'll just go through, and with our 72 rings, we'll jump into the special stage. And here is our special stage. It's a semi-3D, kind of psychedelic run-through. Our goal is to hit these UFOs with a jump attack before the time runs out. The time ticks down by the seconds and also reduces when you hit water, which happens a lot more than you'd like to, unless you're good at this, which I'm not. But I do get a few time stones in this playthrough. The enemies will start to try to intentionally evade you after a certain number of these, and that makes it a lot harder. First level was not too difficult though, and here we get our first time stone. Alright, Zone 2. Yeah, you'll notice that the levels are broken into zones in Sonic CD as opposed to acts, whereas in the other Sonic games, the entire level is called a zone. I don't know why they decided to change that. Sonic CD was being made at the same time as Sonic 2, so they sort of have like a divergent evolution, I guess. Whereas they're about the same, you know, they got developed around the same time, but they end up coming to different answers with the same kind of questions. You can play them in either order. I mean, Sega CD might make you want to play it last, but, you know, technically they came out around the same time. Though, of course, Sonic CD does take place before he runs into Tails. So maybe it's better to play it before that mechanic of having a partner gets introduced. I don't know. He's also got, his color scheme is more like Sonic 1's. You know, I don't know, I feel like CD fits just fine playing it after the first game but before the second. The only thing that you really feel like you're missing is the super peel out, which it's not in any of the other games, so it's like, deal with it. Though, if you are playing Sonic 3 nowadays, you should be playing the Sonic 3 Complete mod, which allows you to add the peel out if you want it. So here's and all the ways I'm showing you here to get into the past are safer ways to do it. The first time I played through this game, I had so much trouble actually getting able to maintain speed long enough to get to the past. Because if you start the trail of sparks and you don't actually last long enough, you actually lose your chance to do it until you run to another sign. And there's only a certain number of signs, and of course the generators are always going to be in the same spot. So you want to try to find an efficient one that'll get you to the generator before, you know, a point of no return. These metal Sonic projectors don't actually do anything. They make the animals dance around, I guess. But, it doesn't affect anything in terms of getting an ending or anything. And here we go, into another special zone. Let's see how my luck fares in this second one. In total, there are 8 special zones, and you actually go through them in rotation. Only 7 of them show up, but an 8th one can be accessed if you input a code in the sound test. So if you, like, fail one of these special stages, you just move on to the next one. And then, you know, it rotates back to one you haven't beaten after you've gone through all 7 of them. Those things on the floor will damage you and make you lose rings. I don't know if that actually does much. It's the water you really need to watch out for. I don't know how much time exactly you lose, but it runs off extremely quick when you hit it. Maybe it's 10 seconds guaranteed, but it's hard to tell. You don't want to do it. But, here we go, beating the second one. And we're getting the orange time stone. Something that's really nice about the Sonic CD port, the mobile ports of 1 and 2 have, too bad they're stuck on mobile garbage, is that it's in widescreen. And though they weren't originally made this way, these games are better in widescreen format. Being able to see what's in front of you at a farther distance, it's just better. It just works out so much better. And the third zone always has a little bit of a lead up before the boss. If you've gotten both good futures in the first 2 zones, then it's the good future in the third zone. If not, if you missed one of them, you have a bad future for the third zone. It's always set in future. And usually there's no enemies in the good future, and there's not really obstacles. Whereas the bad zone usually has some sort of obstacle, like spikes or something like that. Now this boss is way, way, way too easy if you actually run to the end of the stage. He's supposed to block you with these bumpers and you're supposed to wait, but all you have to do is be standing on the edge of the screen when he comes down, and he is just that easy. And just like Sonic 1, you have to bust a capsule to release the animals. Sorry, not the animals, the flowers in this game. And with that, we end our first zone, Palmtree